Well, we're back with tight topics here. This one is going to be a topic on how to move an element from one picture into another. Okay, so for example, I want to move this particular gorilla and put him on top of my bedroom, in my bedroom on top of my bed here. I can do that, put the gorilla on the bed, so I'll show you how to do that. The other thing is, of course, taking a sky and putting it into a different picture. Now this would be moving everything across. So let's start with the sky one, since it's a nice, easy one to do. If I wanted to start with the sky and put the sky into this picture here, I open them up as separate images. I could also open them as layers on top of each other from Lightroom, but in this case I opened them up as separate images. I take the sky itself without doing anything else to it, just taking the move tool and dragging it, grabbing somewhere in the middle, right, and dragging that picture up to the one I want to put it into, the Indonesia picture. Taking my cursor, putting it in the middle of the picture and letting go. Now the sky, I can now move it around, so the sky will drop in the middle of the picture. All right. If I hold down my Shift key, I can change the picture, without keeping the same aspect ratio. If I don't hold down the Shift key, it'll keep that aspect ratio. So depending on what I want to do, I can then position the sky where I want it, and then start playing with blending it. So I don't want to enable dictation. I don't want that game up. But here we go. So we got the sky now popped into about where we want it, looking at the horizon. The first thing I typically do then, of course, is I have another topic. It talks about blend modes. I might try darken. It might be interesting. Multiply might be interesting. Let's say multiply for now. I can change the opacity of multiply down a little bit. It doesn't work perfectly, but it's a start. If I want to put darken. And the other thing I probably would do on this particular one would do a selection and then put the sky into the selection. But that's how you move one, say for example, a sky into this picture. Now the problem is is how to blend it in, and there's a lot of different ways of doing that, and there'll be another video for that. So that's one way of doing it. Now let's just say I want to take an element of a picture like this gorilla and put him into the other picture. Well, first of all, I would do a selection. I'm going to do a very dumb selection on this one, a very easy one, since it does work pretty well. Won't work perfectly though. I'm going to just go to select subject, okay, and I have another video on selection, so I'll select subject and see what this does. Okay, it selected the video of the gorilla pretty well, right? Now I could take this gorilla here, clicking in the middle of him, and move him around, and move him into to this picture here, and drop him in the middle. If I did that, you'll find out that it's too big, because the bedroom picture is taken with an iPhone, and the gorilla picture is taken with a D810, a much higher resolution picture. So you can see I can reduce the gorilla down to something that's more reasonable in scale with the picture, and place him there. But you'll notice he has no mask here, and that's not a bad thing, but if I wanted to make some changes, or if I forgot some of the pieces of the gorilla in the other picture, I can't bring them back. So a smarter way of doing this move, okay, let's not commit that. You see that I'm not committing up above this little check mark. I'll uncommit that. I'm also going to take this layer and take it off by dragging it down to the garbage. So we're back to where we were before. How could I have done that better? Okay, let's go back to our gorilla picture, and instead of doing just moving the gorilla like I did, you'll see there's some parts that are not selected and things like that. A really good tool when you make a selection, we'll talk about that some other time, is this select mask tool. You won't see it unless you have one of the selection tools selected. So I'm going to do selected mask. In this particular case, I'm just using it on black. I can do a lot of refining of edges and things like this. We'll get into that later on in another course, but I'm going to click in this little area here to make sure that I don't have that selected. I might click over here. I'll just leave the grass unselected, but the nice thing here is once I've done selected mask, I can now scroll down to the bottom of this. Instead of saving this, when I exit this, instead of saving this just as a selection, I can select that as a layer mask. Okay? So now if I go back, you'll notice the gorilla's there's a mask been put on the gorilla, and there's a layer mask that shows the gorilla in the middle. So if I take this mask and turn it on and off, the gorilla is there. Now the nice thing with using a mask, when I go to move it now, I can either put my cursor here and drag from here into the other picture, right? or I can just drag like I did the other one. It looks like I'm just dragging the gorilla here, but if I drag him into the home screen and let him drop, he comes in with a mask. Let me go back down and resize this gorilla down like we did last time to something that's reasonable for the scale of the room. I have no idea how big this gorilla is sitting in my bed, but let's just say it's that big. And so I've got the gorilla about where I want him. And it's got to be that's too big. I'll put him down here. Okay, now it's sitting on the bed, and you see he came in with a mask. The beautiful thing with this idea is that now that I have a mask, if I click on the mask, I can now, using a pen tool, a brush, I can bring back or take away certain parts of the gorilla. For example, if I wanted to, so I can brush out or I can brush in. So if I wanted to, for example, bring the bedpost back, that's one way of doing it, right? I can do using this mask. I can now bring the bedpost. You can do the bedpost, for example. If I click once at this side here, holding down the Shift key, it'll make a straight line across. If my brush is about the size of that post there, I can do this quite quickly. Okay, so click there, click there, click there, click there. Now, of course, there's a lot of cleanup work and things like this I'd have to do around this gorilla. I didn't do a great selection, but you see, it's not too bad. The other things I can do now with this gorilla is clicking on the gorilla itself. I could say, okay, fine, let's do something different. Let's add a shadow to the gorilla. Okay, he's in the bedroom. That ought to be a shadow there to make him look three-dimensional. I'll go to FX here, put a drop shadow on him, and immediately you see the shadow showed up behind him here. I can change the position of the shadow by rotating this little dial over here. Okay, or I can take my cursor and pull the shadow around to where I want it. Okay, if that's a good place, I can drop it and say, okay, that's good enough. Or if I don't like that, I go down to the shadow words down here below the shadow effects. Right click on that. I can make a whole different layer out of that. I can create layer out of that shadow. Okay. Now there's a layer. The shadow itself is a layer, and I can do things like I can actually distort that layer and make it look like it's really blending into the room by doing some either puppet warping or transforming, things like that. Let's just do a let's do transform just to show how it's done. Distort the image, and I can now start to whoops, I don't want to do that. Wrong image. I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Let's go back down to the layer and distort. Image, transform, distort. Now I'm on the shadow layer, not on the gorilla layer, and I can take this shadow and distort it out any particular way I want. There's different transform features. So I've got the layer like I like it. I hope this helped. So that was moving a element of a picture into another one, or a whole sky, taking the whole sky and moving into that other picture.